Hello, everyone. Um, so today we're gonna talk about Gateway API. And first, I need to adjust some of these stuff on my desk. All right. So the idea for this session is we're gonna use some of the features that are in Calico 3.30 in order to create a website and secure it with SSL. Now, if you know about Kubernetes, you know that the conventional way to do it until now, it used to be the ingress controllers. So you would basically use an ingress controller, create some routes, and do some magic there. Not that there's any problem in it with that sort of way to handle this situation, but the Kubernetes community sort of came up with a standard way in order to do such a thing, which is Gateway API, and we're gonna talk about it today, how you can accomplish it with the new Calico 3.30, and what are some of the things that you can actually use in order to, let's say, publish a website or any sort of microservice that uses HTTP, HTTPS, gRPC, UDP, TCP, things that were not available if you were trying to do the same thing using ingress controllers and okay, the stream is going on. And what are some of the things that we could actually tweak to have a better experience using Gateway API? So just to let you know, Gateway API is part of the standard way that you can interact with Kubernetes. It's, I think, available from like 130, Kubernetes 130 or 129. The idea was there. It's a way to standardize the whole ingress controller and those sort of stuff. If you've been using Nginx ingress controller, you might know that it's now getting deprecated. And the community is trying to, let's say, move you to a better solution, which is Gateway API. Now, why would you do that? So, off the cuff, if you come to the Gateway API website, you will see something that we sort of were missing in ingress controllers, which is a role-based sort of delegation. Ingress controllers, they do a lot of things. They're very cool. However, most of the stuff are with annotations. You have to like annotate things in order to get them to do something. And as we all know, annotations, while cool, are not the best way to break out some of these features. Now, that being said, let me check stream, get them to do something, and okay. If you got any sort of questions, feel free to shoot it in the chat. I will try to answer it. But from experience, I usually don't know the answers, so I will find somebody who can answer you from our engineers and the community. So if that happens, I will let you know that like our Slack is available and you can actually try that place as well. Now, that being said, let's talk about Gateway API and how you can actually run it in a Kubernetes cluster with Calico 3.30. So for this demo, I'm gonna mainly use an EKS cluster. As you might have guessed, it's because it was in the title of the stream. So I took the liberty of creating a cluster. Nothing spectacular. I just created a bare minimum sort of cluster with EKS cattle. Just EKS cattle create cluster. Now, that being said, I also have domain name ready. Now, a domain is not a requirement. You don't have to go buy one. You can 100% get a free one from Freenome or those websites. There's like tons of them. But the idea is I want this demo to be as close to a production environment as possible. So that is why at some point I'm going to use this secure-demo Calico whatever to, get a valid certificate and actually tie things together. Now, so let's start. I got a cluster running on EKS. It's got, I don't know, two nodes. No applications are actually deployed on it at the moment. And it's running the AWS CNI plugin. So we're sort of like set. Now, if you want to deploy your application here, obviously you can, but the idea is when you do that, in order to publish your application, you would need to create load balancers. Now, let's go do that and see what's going on. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install Calico on this cluster. Now, installing Calico is an easy task. You basically run the Tigera operator. And in order to do that, you create the CRDs. These are available on our docs website. So docs.tigera.io, and put it in the chat for you guys. So if you come to docs, come to Calico open source, installing, there's like a plethora of places that you can use Calico. At the moment, I'm using EKS one. So basically, I ran this command, I'm running these two commands, and I'm gonna continue and create my environment. So now that I got the Tigera operator up and running, I can verify that by doing a rollout, because again, Tigera operator is a deployment. So now that it's running, what I could do is I can actually instruct the Tigera operator, who's going to be your personal network configuration, let's say ops person, to actually configure Calico. So for this particular example, I'm not gonna change anything, like everything is in the docs, so I'm just gonna copy paste it. Now, I just want to hint that Calico has a lot of hooks, a lot of integration with other sort of partners. For instance, here, as you can see, I'm actually telling my Calico that my Kubernetes provider is EKS and my type of CNI is Amazon VPC. So I'm not going to do networking per se, but I'm going to sort of attach myself to Amazon CNI, the AWS CNI, to actually make it better. So obviously, you run the create command. It will create the installation manifest. And after you do that, hopefully you, where is it? now you can use the Tigera status command to figure out what's going on in your cluster. So Tigera status command will show you what is actually happening with your installation. So here I'm gonna just watch this installation process. It's gonna take around like a minute, like, yeah, all right, 41 seconds. It had to prove me wrong. Anyway, so after you do the Tigera status, you look for the available. And these are the components that are getting installed by the Tigera operator. So at the moment, I installed Calico, which is the brain of this operation, and IP pools, which are again sort of like an IP management which you can use if you don't like to like pay for a lot of cloud provider IPs. Now, next, I'm going to install a demo application because, you know, duh, you sort of need something to convince people something is great. So I'm going to use the Google microservices. If you are not familiar with this, so it used to be Hipster Shop, but I guess being a hipster is now not cool anymore, so we call it microservices demo. And the idea is this will run a full-blown application with like a front end, back end, like a database, all sort of things. And it's written in like a couple of languages, so if you want to do some sort of, you know, funky thing with your deployment or tests, you can basically go and figure out which programming language you want to like do the funky thing to, and here would be the ideal demo app. So after you deploy the deployment, obviously you can check for the deployment status. If the front end is up and running, everything is peachy. And what we could do is we could actually check for the services that we have. So if you remember, like 2 seconds ago, I talked about, well, when you're deploying an application on a cloud provider, you would create a service, a load balancer. So here I created a load balancer. It got an IP, a DNS name, FQDN sort of thingy from Amazon. And now this hopefully gives me access to my application. Now, that being said, sometimes this is going to take around like 300 seconds. I think the TTL for DNS propagation on Amazon is like 300 seconds. Anyway, that's something that you could check in the AWS documentation. Anyway, when you're done, you have your application deployed, your website is running, you can come here, do stuff, buy sunglasses. If you're not in Vancouver, obviously I'm in Vancouver, I don't need sunglasses. I need some sort of umbrella, but that is not the thing that we're looking for in this demo. All right, so next stop is checking the load balancer. So load balancer right now is running on port 80. And if you like, if you known about like ports, port 80 is notorious for being used for unencrypted HTTP traffic. Now, we're going to change that, and we're going to do it with style. That's where the Gateway API comes in to play. Now, first of all, as I said, this Gateway API functionality is available in Calico 3.30. Now, one of the ways that you can check what version of Calico you are running, which I like to usually do, is checking the deployment. So we check the deployment on Tigera operator namespace. It's obviously called Tigera operator, and there is an operator binary in there which you can do a version kubectl, and you also need exec because you're trying to invoke a command inside that pod. Now, if you are not like me and you actually run the correct command the first time, you get this output, which tells you, well, you are using operator blah blah blah, and you are running Calico v3.30. So we're set for this one. Next, I'm going to create a new resource which was introduced in 3.30. And with so this new resource tells the operator that I want to use the Gateway API functionality of Calico. When you run it, it creates the resource, and if you I'm again gonna run the Tigera status command, but instead of just watching it like an insane person, I'll try to use kubectl wait to say, well, look for this Gateway API thingy in the Tigera status. If the condition becomes available, let me know. And well, you know, kubectl told me it is now available. So right now, I have all the Gateway API CRDs and those sort of stuff, which you can actually verify in two ways. So first of all, if you go to Tigera status, if you remember, we had 2, now we have 3. This is the thing that we looked for. And there are a bunch of CRDs and resources that are not available to us. So basically, if you kubectl API resources and rep it to, gateway networking.kates.io, which is the API tree that Kubernetes Gateway API Working Group is using for Gateway API functionality for now, you would see we got these sort of things. These are all resources. We're gonna use gateways and HTTP routes for this session, but if you shoot a couple of comments and questions, who knows? I might tell you about backend policies or backend TLS policies. So it really depends on you if this is something interesting. Now, if you want to learn more about Gateway APIs, obviously Calico Gateway APIs, just scan this QR code that you're seeing on, hopefully you're seeing on the stream, and you would get to the point that it talks about Gateway API functionalities. Now, that being said, let's get back to our deployment. All right, so now that I have a deployment, if you check our pods, you would see there is a Gateway API Envoy. So Gateway API with Calico is a version of Envoy, which we bundle in an image, in a secure image that we actually use in our enterprise version of Calico. This is a hardened image. That means it's from scratch. It doesn't have a lot of attack surfaces. It actually minimizes the attack surface, and it puts the Envoy gateway in there and creates a couple of integration with Calico for it. Now, after you're done, so I want to create a gateway and I want it to be secure. Now, one of the ways that you can do this, it's Amazon ACM Certificate Manager. That's obviously possible. And the other one, which I really like, is Cert Manager, which is a CNCF project. It's free, it's open source. You can basically see what is going on. Now, I'm going to install Cert Manager, obviously using a YAML file because I don't believe in charms. And after I'm done, I should see a couple of pods. So these 3 pods are the ones that help the Cert Manager to figure out what I want to do. Now, Gateway API and Cert Manager have integrations, so they can actually Cert Manager can actually figure out if a gateway is doing something or not. And in order to figure that out, we need to enable something because that integration is not enabled by default. So because I didn't use Helm, I need to edit my deployment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add --enable gateway API argument to the deployment. Now, which deployment? So deployment cert manager YAML. If you look at this deployment, which actually runs the whole cert manager show, you will see my container starts with these arguments. Now I need to add one more argument there, which is enable gateway API. After I've done it, I can verify it again, going back. As you can see, it's added now. And after this is done, my cert manager pod will get a restart. And we can again verify that by looking at age. So these are a little bit older than the cert manager pod, which is not a problem, but we know by this evidence that cert manager is now able to look for gateway API resources and integrations. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use I need an empty text file. All right. So next, I'm going to create a resource, cert manager resource called cluster issuer. So this would be the part that communicates with the certification authority. It could be self-signed. It could be Let's Encrypt, Acme, I don't know, you name it, ACM. Again, whatever it is, it's going to be here. So what I need to do is just to provide an email. This is very important because Let's Encrypt uses this to verify the certificate for you, and it uses this to send you notifications like, bro, your certificate is running out of time. So after creating this resource, now I have my connection to the certification authority. Now, next, I can use this to create a gateway. Now, what is a gateway? A gateway is the entry point for that traffic into our cluster. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gateway kind resource, which is part of gateway networking.k8s.io, which we talked about like a couple of seconds ago. Now, I'm going to use an annotation for cert manager to say, well, use the certificate issuer that I talked about, which is Let's Encrypt, and assign it to this Calico demo gateway, which I'm creating. Now, this name and these names are important because we're going to use these in HTTP route or any other sort of things that we want to do with these traffics. Now, one more thing that we need to change is the host name. Now, you might ask, Why the host name? Well, it's because certificates are usually issued to a certain domain, unless you have like a lot of money and you can get a wild card sort of certificate. Valid certificates are usually tied to a domain name. So for this one, it's going to be secure demo dot Calico Ninja. Now, since I have a very good memory, I'm gonna double check this. All right. So the idea is I'm gonna use this domain name to tie it to this gateway on this port. Now, after you're done, it will create a gateway. kubectl get gateway. You can see it using kubectl gateway. It will be assigned another DNS, and you can actually see your gateway as a load balancer in the services. So here is the one that we created right now. If you look closer, we only have port 80. Now, what is up with that? So it's going to take some time for the certificate to be issued. But on top of that, when you want to get a certificate from somewhere like Acme or Let's Encrypt or some other place, they sort of need some sort of verification. Now, since we're not paying for the certificate and it's free, you can also do it, it's free. This verification is something that we talked about in cluster issuer. So coming back to this, I said, well, I'm Reza and I want to create cluster issuer that talks to this CA, and for verification, which is solver, I'm going to use HTTP, and I want to tie it to Calico Demo Gateway. And Calico Demo Gateway, which is a gateway, is in namespace default. So that is why we only have one port here. So how we can solve this? In order to solve this, all we need to do is to create one HTTP route. Actually, technically two, but you know, I see it as one. So this is the HTTP route, and this is the part that is used for the challenge. As you can see, .vel-known Acme challenge is going to redirect to the services that I have. Now, I'm going to run this, and I'm going to bring that bad boy here so we can actually talk about the different parts of it, important parts of it. So I'm creating an HTTP route. It's, again, a new resource, part of gateway networking. Now, there are bits and pieces to an HTTP route that you can create, or GCP route, whatever, gRPC route. But the idea is you assign it a name, you say which namespace, and then you say, well, if there is some traffic, what to do with it. So the whole idea of this file, this resource, is to like, my gateway is doing something. If the traffic comes, look at the header, where it's going to go, usher it. So I'm going to say if the gateway is Calico Demo Gateway and the port is 80, which we know is unencrypted, and it's coming from the section name. So do you remember the time that I said sections are important? So that would resolve to this resource, listener, and this name, HTTP. So section HTTP, port 80. If that happens, I do some things. First match. So these are in order. The one that is higher will happen first and then after. So if it tries to match everything and doesn't match to anything, it goes to a sort of like a black hole. It would give you, I believe, 500 header. Oh, by the way, 500 is an HTTP sort of header. That tells you there is something wrong with the server. Anyway, so I'm going to say if the address is this address, try to resolve it through this service. Now, why this address? First of all, let me check. So kubectl get cert manager. So if you look at the cert manager, I believe it's right, kubectl get pods, kubectl get cert manager, kubectl logs. I want to check these logs. So if you look at the logs that this cert manager emits, you will figure out somewhere in here it talks about the challenge, which is challenge. Oh, here. So at the moment, we don't have the challenge because our cert manager tried to do this, but it couldn't. So it's giving us, well, I cannot do it, so I'm not going to issue a certificate for you. Now, certificate request is another place that you can check for these sort of things. It will tell you what is going on with your certificate. Again, it's waiting for secure demo whatever cert to become available, and you can actually check the gateway. So the gateway will also tell you, hey bud, I was trying to do something, I couldn't, here are the problems, go figure it out. So these are the things to look for. For instance, if you want to troubleshoot something. Now, there is one more step that we need to do in order to get this up and running. So a DNS record on its own doesn't figure out where to connect. For that, we need that human touch, which means our job is, for the moment, safe from the AI. So all we need to do is copy the IP address for the service load balancer that we had and come to our DNS panel. This could be anywhere. Edit the record and use that IP. So nice people in Amazon are telling me it's going to take 60 seconds. So after this 60 seconds, hopefully we get the port 443. And now I can go ramble about this file. So we got the challenge part. Basically, if it's coming through HTTP and it's well-known, whatever, redirected to the front-end service, which cert manager will be there and like, this is mine, give it to me. Now the next part is another match. This match in particular is to force everybody to use HTTPS. Because again, we did all these things to enable SSL for our website. So I'm basically saying, if an HTTP is coming in, it's trying to go anywhere. So this is a path prefix, this match. So if, doesn't matter what is, it could be a lot of other things. If it's coming in, try to do something to it. And that something is the filter part. So here, I was like, if it matches, send it to the service. Here, I'm saying, if it matches, actually, I want to do some stuff. I want to send a request. So I'm going to mutate that HTTP request and send back a response. That response should redirect people to HTTPS with a header of 301. So if, again, HTTP header 301 is just a redirect header, it says this thing moved permanently, you need to check the other part. And if I'm doing HTTPS, you're on port 80. If I'm doing HTTP at the moment and you're matching this, you're on port 80. So I'm also telling you, well, do the HTTPS and make sure the port is 443. Now, if you just do this part, you get the certificate, things will run, but there's going to be a problem. This request will sort of hit a wall because when HTTPS is coming, there are no sort of gateways to answer it. Because again, this whole HTTP route is going to apply to this gateway section HTTP. In order to solve that, we create another route. This route is going to be HTTPS access, section name, HTTPS, same gateway, different port. For this one, we're saying if somebody comes in, send them to the back end service, which is our internal cluster API service, which hopefully we use for our application to be exposed. Now, at some point, if you come back, we will see our gateway has a new port, and that port is 443. Now, if we do a curl for HTTPS secure demo Calico Ninja, we see a 404. Oh, that's because that needs this one. We see a 200. Forget about 404. That was not there. You didn't see anything. All right. So we do a curl and we get HTTP 200, which means, so 200 is the HTTP header for things are okay, and here is your website. Now, if we do the same thing for HTTP, what do you know? It's HTTP 1.1, which means like old HTTP without any security, and it's to tell you 301, this moved, you need to go to this location. So how it would look, so you do secure demo, hopefully. Okay, there's something wrong with the valid certificate. Anyway, that is let's encrypt problem. But as you can see, I got my certificate from let's encrypt, and everything should be running. Now I'm a little bit, let me check something. All right, so there's actually a Chrome problem. Anyway, so you're securely connected to this site, verified by Let's Encrypt. And if you go further, it will tell you, well, the certificate is actually issued for this website. Country is US. You can change these with the issuer. For instance, if you're in some other country, you could actually in the cluster issuer say, well, don't give me US. We have a tariff there. Anyway, and it will give you all the information about your certificate. And that's about it. So I used Gateway API to publish this website. If I come to services that I have, There are now two services tied to Envoy. One is the Calico demo gateway, is the one that we were trying to, fine tune, add to other things. This points to a load balancer, and that load balancer points to our record. Now, you might notice that all these things happen with just one annotation, and that one annotation is not even for Gateway API. That was for Cert Manager. So hopefully, Cert Manager people will fix that someday. I don't know. It's a GitHub project, open source. So create an issue if you think it should be changed. Anyway, the idea is we didn't use any sort of annotation, and we actually published everything. Now, you might be wondering, well, most of these steps are similar to my ingress controller. So what gives? I can still use my ingress controller. Well, true. This Gateway API change is not something that's going to happen like tonight, but the whole idea is we are sort of moving away from ingress controllers, and we are trying to standardize this. This will give you, Gateway API will give you a way to be vendor neutral. Doesn't matter which cloud provider, which place, on-prem, off-prem. If you want to migrate your settings, you basically take the Gateway API, doesn't matter who's the vendor who's providing it for you, and you just put it there and everything should work. The idea with ingress controllers were you had to use annotations because most of the cool things that they were doing was sort of like maybe vendor specific. For instance, Terrific would do something in some way and Nginx would do it another way. So standardize, things are gonna work. And oh, by the way, if you like to do the stuff that I've done, come to this place. So I'm gonna upload this session shortly, but all the commands that I ran would be there. Just scan this, and in a couple of minutes, hopefully, you will see everything. Wait, sessions, not sessions 2. And if you got any sort of questions, well, let me know. I need to stop hitting the keyboard. Oh, we got 3. Wait. We got like 10 people in 2 platforms and no questions. It could be any sort of question. Wait, maybe I need to go to LinkedIn. All right, no questions. Great. That's always good because that allows me to bid you farewell until the next one. So, oh, thank you, Anthony. Wait, I actually got a question. So, question is, does this mean Calico now works as a standalone Gateway API implementation? So yes, it does have the implementation. It doesn't need to be your networking CNI even. So that was the whole idea. Here, I'm using AWS CNI, if I can find it here. And I just like jerry-rigged the Calico on top of it because I wanted to use the Gateway API. Now that will also give me things like admin network policy, if I can type it, and baseline admin network policy, and other sort of cool things like eBPF data plane, other sort of cool things that Calico offers. Also, what's its support for gRPC load balancing like at the moment? So at the moment, the load balancing, I believe it's round robin. Wait, I have to dig into the code. Gateway API. Wait. Yeah, I think at the moment is round robin, but check out our Slack channel. Wait, I can definitely give you the most accurate answer there because I have to check it. I don't know it from the top of my mind. And plus, this is only on Calico Enterprise. And no, this is actually everywhere. This was Calico open source. It's free. You can basically come here to our documentation, Calico open source, install it using one of these and going to networking, configure an ingress gateway. It's Calico open source, everything for free. Hopefully you will buy the enterprise, but if you don't want to, again, this works. Thanks for the question. Any other sort of questions? Not about tariffs, obviously. Just like Gateway API or Calico ones. Sweet. So I'm going to say goodbye. See you in the next one. Bye, everyone.